odds for the 2026 NBA awards just dropped, but unfortunately, I don't agree with any of them. So today, we are predicting who wins every NBA trophy, and it may not be who you'd expect. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel is out today due to a family emergency, but he will be right back here next week. Prayers out to him. But today we're predicting every single NBA award in the year 2026. But first, we are starting with a brand new game called Fill in the Blank, where I read a phrase and we complete that sentence. First one up is the biggest threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder it's the Denver Nuggets. And it's not even close. Last year, the Nuggets took them to 7 games. And in that game 7, this was their rotation, y'all. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., who was unable to lift his arm due to a shoulder injury, Aaron Gordon on a severe hamstring strain. And off the bench, the 2 guys with the most minutes was Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. Russell Westbrook will not be there next year. Peyton Watson, we'll see if he's a part of that lineup. But I'm really looking at Jokic, Murray, Brown. They were playing with 3.5, 4 guys because of MPJ and Aaron Gordon's injury, and we're still able to take the Oklahoma City Thunder to 7 games. This year, that rotation's a little bit different. We got Jokic, Murray, and Brown. You're going to have a healthy Cam Johnson, a healthy Aaron Gordon. And off the bench, they have 3 guys who would probably lead minutes off the bench. All new. Jonas Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Bruce Brown. That's a lot better than the options you had in Game 7 of the Oklahoma City Thunder series. I'm not saying that they will be predicted to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that's the biggest threat. And to me, it's not a threat. It's a team who can beat them. And I'm praying they meet again in the playoffs because that series would be the best series of the Western Conference. OKC, you're looking at a Western Conference that, yes, it is very, very deep, a lot deeper than the East. But when you're talking about teams that actually can beat OKC, it's a very, very short list. Denver Nuggets top that list. Houston Rockets, yeah, wait and see. We shall see. The LA Clippers, yes, they're a deep roster, but like we talked about last week, I mean, it's an average age of 31 years old. Do I really trust this version of Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs? I've seen a, documented resume of James Harden in the postseason. Denver's the only team I trust against OKC right now. And it goes past that trust barrier because of the new pieces and the retooling that they did this offseason. I feel like that series is a toss-up. That's why they're the biggest threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The second fill in the blank is about LaMelo Ball. LaMelo will finish the season with the blank. I could take the easy route. I could say the Charlotte Hornets, but LaMelo Ball has played a combined 50 games in the last 2 seasons. He has struggled on injury after injury after injury. Brandon Miller has a really big first 3 to 4 months, and Con Knipple has the same type of start, and LaMelo's just not in the mix. He's not fitting right. He's still taking one-leg threes. Who knows what Charlotte would want to do? But I think, for whatever reason, Joe Dumars, a new New Orleans Pelicans GM, they made one of the dumbest draft night trades in NBA history. I think LaMelo is going to finish the season with the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans will be one of the handful of teams to call about LaMelo. And I think this time, because of Brandon Miller, because of Con Knipple, I think Charlotte actually listens to that conversation. Whether that makes sense for the Pelicans, I can't answer. Their draft night trade made no sense. Them trading for Jordan Poole made no sense. Them trading a year ago for DeJounte Murray made no sense. Them trading for LaMelo Ball doesn't make a lot of sense either. But that's my prediction. I think LaMelo finishes the season on the New Orleans Pelicans. The third fill in the blank. It's about Joel's New York Knicks. He is the ultimate fan that, I'm going to give myself some underwhelming expectations so I don't have to be heartbroken whenever they get beat. If you guys remember, Joel's going through it right now. It doesn't mean I'm still not going to chirp him. Before the last year's NBA playoffs, Knicks fans were not expecting much. They were expected to get bounced by the Boston Celtics, and their fans expected that too. They ended up making it to the conference finals. Next fill in the blank is the Knicks will win blank games next season. Let's put a figure on it. 60. Like I said last week, it's all about Coach Mike Brown. This is a former coach of the year, and I think he can reimagine what is largely the same team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. This was a squad that was in the Final Four with really no offensive game plan night to night, with really no bench depth night to night. Now you add Jordan Clarkson, who should be an upgrade from campaign. Now you add Gershon Yabusele, who should be an upgrade on Precious Achiuwa. So not only you have depth, you have a coaching upgrade. This is a team that won in the lower to mid 50s in games last season. Why is it that crazy that they can just win 5 more games next season? The offense could be even better. Though the question of how well this team can defend, all of that stuff still exists with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns as, your number 1 and 2 stars. But I'm looking at an Eastern Conference that is pretty damn weak outside of them, Cleveland, and Orlando. If you want to add Atlanta in there as a 4th team, that's cool. But, who is in that bottom 2/3 of the East? Not a lot. So I think for that reason, because of coaching, because of the roster upgrade, because of the conference, it's not that implausible to me that they can win 60 games next season. Next, let's go out to the West. 4th fill in the blank is about Victor Wembanyama. Fill in the blank is this. Wemby will average blank points in the year 2026. Before I answer this question, let's go back in time. He was a rookie 2 years ago. He averaged 21 points per game. 2nd year last year, battled blood clots. He averaged 24 points per game. The 3rd year leap is very real, especially for a generational talent like him. That 3rd year leap is like his height, so happens to be bigger than everyone else's. Because when we talk about 3rd year leaps, we're not talking about a 3rd year leap from a guy who averaged 24 points per game the year before. We're talking about a 3rd year leap from, an 18 to 19 point per game guy to a 27 point guy. I think it's not that crazy that Wembanyama will average 32 points per game next season. From 24 to 32. He'll be fully healthy. He will have a 3rd year underneath his belt. And I know one thing about Victor. He is more obsessed about the game of basketball than 99.9% of his peers. Man has been groomed for this. And when I look at that Spurs roster, yes, it's a lot of crowded guard depth, but no matter who they keep out of De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper and Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle, this shit will run through Victor Wembanyama. And he has to be great for them to be great in that Western Conference that is really, really deep. I think he takes it. I think he has a chip on his shoulder that he couldn't win Defensive Player of the Year, that he couldn't make the All-NBA honors that he wanted to make. He will go into this super, super motivated. And not only that, you look at this guy's offseason, he was training with Japanese monks and jiu-jitsu and karate. All this other shit that he's been doing, all these side missions have been about one thing, getting better at basketball. I know it's crazy to see him shave his head and practice meditation, but that is, at the end of the day, the end goal is for that to make him better at basketball. That's how he operates, and that's why him averaging 32 points per game next year is not crazy to me. Final one is close to home. As you guys know, I'm based in Memphis. I try not to have Grizzlies bias in anything. Most of the time, I operate in Joel's realm, where I'm going to have underwhelming expectations so my team can overachieve. It's been hard to have expectations lower than the last 2 years of the Memphis Grizzlies. I go into 2023 knowing that we have to start the season with a Ja Morant 25-game suspension. I'm like, okay, if we make the play-in, I'm okay with that. If we're 6th in the Western Conference, I'm okay with that. Instead, our entire team gets injured. We win 26 games. We don't win the lottery. We don't get some crazy lottery luck. We end up with the 9th pick and draft Zach Edey and never sign a center. So going into 2024, we got a rookie starting at center. Not too sure what we're doing with the rest of the roster outside of John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson. It's not much there. Go into it, I'm like, all right, since everyone's actually healthy, I would like, and there's no suspensions, I would like at least, a top 6 finish. This is before we knew the Rockets were the Rockets and the Warriors had Jimmy Butler and the Lakers were going to get Luka Doncic. I was like, I'm just asking for a top 6 finish. They end up torpedoing the second half of the year from the 2nd seed in February to the 8th seed in April. Now, I do want to give some proper discourse around Memphis. Yes, you can call them an 8th seed. That's 100% what they were. But the difference between them and the 3rd seed was 2 games. So you can say the same thing about the Lakers. Oh, they were in a great spot last year. They were a 3rd seed. They were 2 games away from the 8th seed. So I'm not going to sit here and act like they were so far out of it. But back to my original point, it's just hard to project underwhelming expectations and for them to be lower than the performance of the Grizzlies the last 2 years. With that being said, 2 games from the 3rd seed. They go out and they trade Desmond Bane and they get all of these assets in return. They sign Ty Jerome. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was in that trade. They got 4 firsts. One of those firsts is a Phoenix first rounder unprotected next year. That could be a top 3 or number 1 overall pick. They have all the assets in the world, but the talent doesn't line up with the top 6 team. I'm not going to sit here and be delusional, expect the exact same thing I expected last year. It's just not right. On paper, the Grizzlies are worse than they were last year, but they are a lot deeper. And in an NBA that now values depth over big threes, you can argue that, yes, it might be lateral moves, but in this long, grueling 82-game season with an unreliable point guard, to have 2 reliable point guards in Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen, I think there is a chance, because of their depth, it could be the most minor step up. That's why the final fill in the blank is the Grizzlies will finish blank in the West. Instead of 8th, I'm going to say 7th. Let's see if we can agree on this, Chad. I know I see comments about me being delusional about my team, but let's see if we can agree on this. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder obviously finishing ahead of Memphis. Same with the Nuggets. Same with the Rockets. Same with the Clippers. Same with the Timberwolves. I even have the Lakers, who have objectively let Dorian Finney-Smith walk, signed Jake LaRavia, signed DeAndre Ayton, signed Marcus Smart, who's played 50 games in the last 2 years. Whatever. I have the Lakers finishing ahead of the Grizzlies. The Warriors right now. So that's 6 teams I have finishing ahead of Memphis. Thunder, Nuggets, Rockets, Clippers, Timberwolves, and Lakers. The Warriors would be the first argument. They have yet to sign a center. Kevon Looney's not there anymore. They don't have outside of Quentin Post, they don't have a center on the roster. And they have not re-signed Jonathan Kuminga or traded him. So that remains to be seen. If they sign Al Horford, get a haul for Kuminga, or sign Kuminga, sure, Grizzlies are 8th. But until that happens, Grizzlies are 7th. I think they finish 7th in the West. The Kings, they're in no man's land. I'm not putting them above a Memphis team because when John Morant plays basketball, yes, it's not often, the Grizzlies win 61% of the games. Same goes with Jaren Jackson. They win 58% when Jaren Jackson's on the floor. Now they have depth around them. 7th is not crazy because the Kings are in no man's land. The Mavericks roster is extremely crowded and led by a 7-footer coming off a lower leg injury. And oh, by the way, they're going to be without Kyrie Irving for the entire season. The Trailblazers don't have the offensive weaponry that offers anything other than an 8-10 finish in the West. So if you want to sit here and argue with me about the Kings, Mavericks, and Blazers, go ahead. But I have the Grizzlies finishing 7th in the Western Conference, 8th if the Warriors get their shit together over the next month or so. That's just how I see it. I don't think that's delusional to have the Grizzlies as that caliber of team, and that's where I envision them finishing. Let's get into the reason you guys clicked on this video, though, to find out about NBA awards. I'm going to start with the Rookie of the Year and go down from there. My Rookie of the Year is simple. It's Cooper Flagg. I don't think this race is going to be close. Cooper will have both the opportunity and the talent to do so. VJ Edgecombe will have an undefined role in Philly. Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson will be on the first and second worst teams in the league. And according to Joel, Dylan Harper's not going to start for the Spurs. Kon Knippel to start the season will be the 4th or 5th option on the Hornets. Cooper Flagg, I think it's a runaway. Does that equate to team success? I think more team success than his peers in the draft, but not more team success than the upper echelon teams in the Western Conference. I have to see Cooper operate on the ball more. Anthony Davis has to stay healthy for them to have success. Kyrie Irving will not be there, so we shall see how much team success it equates to, but comparatively speaking to his peers, yeah, I'm taking Cooper Flagg, and it's not even close. 6th man of the year. We're just talking about the Grizzlies, right? They've never had a heater off the bench. and they play their starters less than any other team in the NBA. It's a fact. It's stats. Look them up. There is a world where we look up and Ty Jerome is scoring north of 15 points a night. That's not that crazy. Santi Aldama played more minutes than Ja Morant last season. That happened. Ty Jerome will have the perfect opportunity to win this award, and I think he does it. Naz Reid, you can make a case that he wins it again. However, with the Timberwolves losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, we might see, if people are in and out of the lineup, Naz Reid may have to start for them, and the same could be said for Ty Jerome. But Ty Jerome, this feels like a perfect case. He finished third in this award last year. Now with, you can argue, a bigger opportunity in Memphis, not because Memphis is going to be a better team. I'm not arguing that at all. But I'm just saying a bigger personal opportunity for Ty Jerome. I think he comes away with an award he finished top 3 in last season. Most improved player, you can go any sort of way on here. You can go Ben Mathurin from the Pacers. You can go a lot of guys on this list. I went with another Pacer, and Andrew Nembhard. He averaged 10, 5, and 3 last year while playing 28 minutes per game. Because of the Tyrese Halliburton injury, he's going to be playing 35 to 40 minutes a night. I expect him to win most improved player. It's that simple. Because of the 10, 5, and 3 and 28 minutes, if you multiply those stats up to what that equates to with 35 to 40 minutes, yeah, I think Andrew Nembhard's going to win this award. And TJ McConnell, I think, yes, will play a huge role, but at the end of the day, he might still be a backup for the Indiana Pacers, and Andrew Nembhard will be dominating on the ball. And then it gets real interesting with his contract situation, with what comes up next. Andrew Nembhard will be the 2026 MIP for Coach of the Year. I think this Eastern Conference landscape sets up for Quinn Snyder to win his second Coach of the Year. The Hawks completely overhauled their supporting cast, and I expect them to take advantage of this Eastern Conference team. We're walking through the East, and when you're thinking of it off dome, I mean, Cleveland's probably first in odds. Knicks are probably second. Orlando's probably in that mix, and then you have to throw Orlando in there as well. Atlanta in there as well. I think Atlanta has the real opportunity to finish top 4 in the league next year. And if you're finishing top 4 in the league with that squad, hopefully Jalen Johnson can stay healthy. Hopefully Zachary Shea can build on a decent rookie season. I think with the pieces they made, Quinn Snyder, if he has a top 3 to 4 finish, that will be enough to win this award. Now, back to my prediction at the beginning of the show, Mike Brown wins 60 games. That's his second as well. But I do believe it will come from the Eastern Conference. I think there will be a little bit of voters fatigue from the Oklahoma City side of things, especially with how tough the West is and any other team you want to name out there. I think it's going to come from the East. Quinn Snyder, Mike Brown are going to be my bets on that, but I just put Quinn for that. Defensive Player of the Year. Wemby suffered blood clots last year, was not able to win this award. Jaren Jackson was then favored for it. He fumbled the bag on the award and on his contract. People are calling Jaren Jackson overpaid, but I mean, he actually could have signed a 5-year, $340 million extension if he won DPOY. So it was better for the team that he didn't. So he signs for 5 years, $240, $100 million difference. Evan Mobley ends up winning it. Evan Mobley was well-deserved, especially with the season Cleveland had. Wemby was everyone's prediction this time last season. And Vic would have won if it was not for the medical condition that he suffered. All reports are pointing to him starting night 1. He's going to have no restrictions on him. If he stays healthy enough, he wins it this season, and it is that damn simple. Final one, MVP. I'm not just saying this because of a magazine that came out this week. Luka Doncic. This feels very, very written in the stars. Since his rookie year, Luka has been the sexy MVP offseason pick. This is the year he does it. I don't believe, I'm gonna be honest. I do not believe in the sustainability of his weight loss. But I do believe in one thing, and that is revenge. It helps that Luka will already be in basketball shape, obviously, for training camp. He's representing Slovenia at Eurobasket in August and September. That 100% helps. But the weight loss thing is cool. I think it's a good sign. But how many times have we seen off-season pictures of Zion Williamson? And then we look up in January, February, once we're 30 to 40 games in, and these guys are on the road. They get away from the chef, they get away from the intermittent fasting, from the gluten-free diet, all that stuff. And Zion looks like a different player than he did in those offseason pictures. We've seen this movie time and time again. In fact, we have seen it with Luka Doncic in his second year. He did show up skinny, and once you get 40 games in, he gets a little bit bigger. But the good thing is he has lost 30 pounds. He's went from 265 to 235. It's going to be really, really hard to gain 30 pounds. I mean, that's a lot of weight to gain back. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the weight loss is a good sign. I don't believe in the sustainability. However, the revenge is the biggest contributing factor to this MVP award. All signs point to the Lakers, this being his team. He had his hand in the Mark Williams trade that was ultimately rescinded. He had his hand in Marcus Smart signing there. He did not just send a text to Marcus Smart or DM Marcus Smart, hey, like, you should sign here. It was multiple calls, call after call after call after call, and he eventually signed with the LA Lakers. And if I'm LeBron James, I talked about this last week, I'm looking at that and at some type of way, because I've been asking for shit for the past 5 years, and a lot of it has not been done since we won a world title. But I would simply look at LeBron and be like, there's a difference between a 41-year-old superstar and a 26-year-old superstar. His time to win is not in the future, and this is what Joel and I agree on. It is right now. And I think Luka looks around with his team and realizes, if we're going to go somewhere, it's going to be on my back. The Mavericks had a great supporting cast when they went to the finals 2 years ago, but that doesn't happen if Luka's not doing what he is doing in the playoffs. I think Luka can be in that same shape he was in 2 years ago on that finals run and win an MVP this year. I think revenge will be the ultimate fire under his ass, and you have to ask yourself, does any of this happen if he doesn't get traded? I'm not here to answer that, but what I am here to answer is that Luka will 100% win MVP next season, and I'm excited for it because he deserves it after all of the shit he has been through and the betrayal he suffered from Nico Harrison. I understand why Luka feels the way he does, and now it's going to actually convert to the court now that he has time to think about it and process it. All this shit is at mid-season, and he's just eating his way out of it, because at the end of the day, I think that's what happened. Whenever you go through heartbreak, whenever you go through shit, like, you have ways that you cope with it. Some it's drugs, some it's alcohol, and some it's eating whatever the hell you want. I think that's what happened last year. I look at him this year, and yes, he's went completely the other way, but this offseason weight loss, it's not an accident he was on the Today Show this week. It's not an accident he was on the cover of Men's Health magazine. This is a guy who has hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. In 3 days, August 2nd, 2 days since I post this, he will be eligible for a massive extension. He can sign a 4-year one that kind of puts a cap on what he can earn, but it's the most the Lakers can offer. Or he can sign a 3-year one and be eligible for a $400 million deal 4 years from now. Those are the two options he has. And I think him losing weight is the ultimate sign of, hey, I can commit to something. Let me sign this damn contract. That's what the weight loss is about. It's not about, hey, I'm going to be able to keep this off all season. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't believe in that sustainability. But again, what I believe in is a factor of revenge, the factor of him having to be great for the Lakers to have a chance. And that is why Luka is my MVP for the year 2026. Y'all be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Joel is going to be right back here next week. Keep him in your prayers. Hope everything's going good. And y'all have a great, great weekend. See you next week. Peace.